My name is Yago Blacksky. I'm from Salina, Kansas, United States. I would say that one of the there are a number of reasons that attracted me to Tom Hess's website. At one point in time, I was I really wasn't a very good guitar player, and I wanted to do something more with a music career. And by researching on the internet, I came across Tom Hess's website. And what really got my attention was the sheer amount of knowledge that Tom Hess was willing to share for free. I mean, I literally perused his website for about 3 days before I decided that, okay, this is the kind of person that I want to take lessons from. If he's willing to put out this much information without even asking for the sale, then of course there's a lot more value behind that for when I actually do pull the trigger and decide to take lessons. So that made a very strong impact on me from the very beginning. I started out playing bass, and for a long period of time I didn't take lessons at all. So the things that I was learning throughout those parts of my life were really more, I would learn how to play a song, but learning how to play a song doesn't do much for allowing a person to play anything. It allows a person to play one song, right? So we're pretty much stuck with our repertoire of things that we learn how to play, whereas in taking lessons, and especially the way that Tom Hess teaches, we're not just learning how to play one or two songs. We're learning how to play anything that we want to. We're learning how to recognize patterns that are available within any song, and as doing such, we allow ourselves to play every song instead of just limiting ourselves to one simple thing, one simple chord progression, or whatever we learned by playing along with a CD or a tape or something. So, what I like about online guitar lessons with Tom Hess is that there's a lot of variety. There is not only in what Tom Hess instructs, but also in the methods of delivery. So I can learn from a PDF, I can learn from a video, I can learn from an audio file, and all of these methods suit different purposes. For example, if I'm on a long drive to the airport or something, it's a 2-hour trip for me. If I'm on a long drive, I can listen to an MP3 and still get some knowledge. Likewise, there are many things that Tom Hess teaches that can be done away from the guitar. So I don't actually have to have my instrument there in my hands. If I'm on an airplane, I can be learning more about concepts and general theory. I can be doing even finger practicing exercises without having a guitar there for, finger independence and things like that. And so there are so many different methods that Tom Hess uses to teach that really impress me. As far as it's much different from one of the first times I remember taking bass lessons when I was younger. Not only did the instructor make an off-color comment about a band that I liked, which was kind of a turn-off, but then he taught me how to play a Loverboy song, and it was just, not that I have anything against Loverboy, but it's just not what I was into. So another thing that I appreciate about Tom Hess is just his general acceptance of all types of music. Now, he will say, well, I don't listen to this band, or, I'm not familiar with that band, but from what I've discovered, it seems to be Tom Hess's general opinion that music is music and should be appreciated for what it is. And that's something that's very difficult to get just from the average person. Another thing that I really appreciate about Tom Hess is I love his mindset, and I love his the way that his brain works. In fact, I think I would probably say that he and I read a lot of similar books as far as the general type of books. I would probably venture to say that we have similar reading stacks. And so once again, there's just so much more than just general guitar playing. There's the attitude, there's the the sense of accomplishment. There's definitely the demonstration of Tom Hess's own accomplishment that makes a person a believer right off the bat. And then, as I mentioned before, several different methods of delivery, a variety of ways to learn. And it's not just here, learn tab. It's not just here, learn notation. It's everything. I mean, it's scales, modes, patterns, notes, expression, elements, ornamentations. There's just so much that's included. And from the first lesson even, we get so much of a variety in the, even in the distance guitar correspondence lessons. There's so much variety in the types of elements that we learn that, I think one of my first sessions was about rhythm picking, and then there was another lesson on improvisation, another lesson about chord structure, another lesson about thumb muting. So all of these different elements, when we put them all together, even from lesson 1, there's just so much there to practice to increase. Like I said, I wasn't very good when I started, so there was just so much there to increase exponentially from so many different areas that it was just an amazing experience from lesson 1. And we had briefly spoke about, like, well, if this is the amount of information that he hands out for free on the website, then I wonder what I get when I actually pay for lessons. And the amount of information, like I said, from even one lesson is mind-blowing. It's enough to work on for 6 months to a year alone, just from one lesson. So just the sheer volume of the material that we get in a lesson, added with the quality of that material that we get from the lesson, is just mind-blowingly massive. I have to confess, as I mentioned previously, I have not had much time to pick up my guitar within the last 8 months. I've been on the road quite a bit. But if I could share a very brief story, when I first started taking guitar lessons with Tom Hess, there were a number of things that I simply thought I could not do. In fact, taking a half step back from that, I started with bass when I was about 14 or 15 years old, because I never thought that I could, manage, the chord structures. It was just like, a bunch of spaghetti to me and whatnot. And so I got into bass when I was younger. I've always had a 6-string guitar, but I, for the most part, stuck with bass until about age 35, and I'm 42 now. And at around age 35, I bought another student model guitar, simply to encourage myself and say, okay, I want to do this. I know I can do this. I know I'm not just limited to one instrument. I know I can learn this. And I bought a DVD that pushed me quite a ways down the road, where I learned some basic chords and whatnot. But even at that point, I didn't really have the confidence to say, well, I can tackle something like sweep picking. So even just knowing, a few basic chords, learning how to sing and play at the same time, even learning bar chords were difficult for me. But something like sweep picking seemed completely elusive, completely beyond my capabilities. And I know it's an advanced technique, but in one of our lessons I got to choose a bonus lesson, and I did pick the lesson on sweep picking. And through continued practice, I simply realized this is something that I can do, and I never thought I would be able to do. So 2 things right there. One, just my own perception of being able to say, well, I'm not limited to bass, I can play 6-string, and then carrying that forward into taking lessons with Tom Hess and learning, well, I can sweep pick. It's just a matter of sitting down and practicing and understanding, A, the intellectual concept of it, but then also B, the right way to do it, and the actual muscle memory of practicing sweep picking. If I combine the correct elements, it's like a combination lock. And once we have the combination, the lock is open and we can do whatever we want with that. So that was something valuable that I really got from taking the Tom Hess Distance correspondence guitar lessons, was that yes, I can do it. I just need to have the right mindset, the want to do it, the time to sit down and do it, and the plan to actually make it happen. But it's always frustrated me because you and I have both heard that general concept. Everybody's got a friend who's like pretty awesome at Guitar Hero, but they say, man, I wish I could play guitar. And my response to that would be, well, if you spend as much time practicing with your guitar as you do playing Guitar Hero, then undeniably you would become better at it. Just simply put, you would just get better and you could play guitar. There's nothing on this planet that we can't do. If I wanted to learn, molecular engineering, I could take classes for that and I could learn it, of course, you know what I mean? But it's not that I'm too stupid for that or, incapable of learning that. It's just outside my scope of interest. If a person really wants to learn guitar, all they need to do is buy a guitar and practice, and the lessons that Tom Hess will share will accelerate that experience by leaps and bounds. Whereas when interacting with Tom Hess, you get specific feedback where he is listening to you play, he is watching you play, and even what a video game won't tell you is while you're playing and your elbow is coming out like this, and you're trying to come back to those low strings with your weakest fingers on that arpeggio sweep, controlling this movement, a video game will not tell you that. Tom Hess will.